Gundam.tk presents Double O Riser. Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam.tk. This is the perfect grade Double O Gundam. We've already taken a look at the completed weapons, but now it's time to take a look at the parts once they're all together. And there are some pretty impressive mechanisms inside each of these, so let's get started. Starting at the bottom, the feet were one of the first things I put together, and they are impressive for a pretty simple reason: the amount of mobility you've got. So first of all, you can bend them at the back here, and then you can bend them also up here. So what you're able to do quite easily is get this kind of near 90 degrees if you looked at the soles of the feet there, and it's because you've got a slide mechanism up here and built into all of these parts down below. So very cool there. The other thing that I was a big fan of is that you're able to take these parts, and these are designed so that when you put them on the table, this foot is not going to move. So you basically just cut these out using your modeler's knife, no problem at all. Slap those in, and these are already on indents, so they don't protrude too much, but they should just provide a little bit of extra support so that when you do slap on the huge O riser, that this double O riser will be able to keep its feet, hopefully. Next, with the ankles, this is a theme that is recurring with the Double O Gundam. Basically, all of these parts, it's got a lot of moving parts, but they're very, very stiff, and that is going to be very important when we add in all the extra weight. But anyway, you were able to move it here, it'll move around here, and it's able to attach here. So we should have the same kind of mobility that we have with the awesome HG kits already. But it's once you're building something like the legs and the arms that you really get to see, wow, how much effort they put into the inner frame. So though while the outside may look simple, the parts on the inside that allow this kind of movement with this kind of stability is really well worth the build just by itself. So anyway, getting to it, if you take a look here at the bottom, this part is able to move a little bit, which is good. The back part does not. These parts here are able to lock into place, so they slide out and in, and that's because we're going to put the GN condenser in there, which is going to serve as a lock mechanism. But because it's not locked right now, we have a smooth slide here, and you'll notice that we have a two-part slide there on the front, which is great, and the rest of the bend is going to come from up here. But just to give you an idea, this is very, very tight when you're moving it, and with that, of course, we're going to be able to get almost the 180. But this is really clicking into place, and you actually build in the clicking mechanism when you're putting it together, which is pretty cool. And this slide mechanism, which doesn't feature which features prominently on the high grade figure, but this gray part does not. Overall, even when you open it up, I'm impressed with the way it looks. The GN condensers that go in the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and knees, I thought were going to be pretty complicated putting them together, but if you follow the directions, I don't think you'll have a big problem. So these are just a few big pieces with a large spring inside, and you can't really do anything with them. But when you open this up and you slide this part open, you're able to attach this into the knee, which is going to give it a lot more stability. You saw with the other leg the free movement here, but now it shouldn't be moving, well, at all, but it does move a little bit. And you're able to push this in, and when you do that, you get the free movement back, but when you let go of it, it locks into place with just a little bit of mobility. And you're able to actually bend the knees to a number of positions here and lock them into place. So again, hopefully this is going to help with the weight issues later. The waist section looks deceptively simple, but still has a fair number of mechanisms built into it, starting with just how much inner frame there is. So first of all, looking at it from the front, you're able to bring the side skirt or the front skirt out because it's on a mechanism there. And when you do that, you're able to move it out of the way of the leg. But I do like the fact that you can lock it into place if you're not choosing to use that feature. On the side skirts, you're able to move them up here, you can see there, and they're also on a ball joint there, so a lot of mechanism moving these forward and back. And if you saw the previous part, you can see that you can attach the weapons, the GN Sword 2s, onto there by opening up that hidden compartment. As well with the beam sabers, you can put them on either side, and you can bring them up, pop this out, and then you can pivot them up to get them into place. At the bottom, we also have a slide mechanism, and I'm assuming that's going to attach onto the action base that this comes with. And the final cool thing that they give you here is that you're able to move the legs. If you get these out, if you slide this black part up and out of the way as it is right now, you can move the legs up and then slide these down, and then these lock into place if you heard that little click there. So you're able to change the position of the hips quite solidly. And really, the only thing that I did have a problem with sometimes is that this will crack itself open, but again, that's going to allow you to give the legs more forward mobility. So for something that seems simple, there's a lot of moving parts in this. Next up, the chest has an incredible system for inner movement here, and basically it's hollow with a big ring in there because, of course, this is going to support a GN drive, perhaps for Exia or Quanta, of course, which could get a perfect grade, but that's just speculation. Anyway, what you're going to get with this, because it has such a complex inner frame, is an incredible amount of mobility, but again, everything is very, very stiff. So at the bottom, you're able to move these red parts forward as well as off to the side, but again, you can hear the clicking as they do that because it doesn't really want to move, but that's going to be a good thing in the long run. As far as the shoulders itself, this blue part also has some range of movement here, but not a lot. The blue parts on the chest, the yellow parts here, can bend up and down and you can position them accordingly, but you're also able to slide these in and out. The shoulders were quite impressive because they are able to pop all the way up, as you can see there, and they can come back down, and these blue plates, because they added those on the top, they don't look out of place when you put them out of position like that. When you slide that forward, you can have a good range of mobility with the arm, and on the back, nothing too fancy. Of course, a GN drive could go in there if this was a different Gundam, but we have the 3 parts here that's going to attach the harness for the GN drives. And the final thing that they have, they've got a good neck mechanism up here, which is going to bend forward and back, combined with the ball joint on the head, that's going to give it a good range of mobility. But if you slide this white part forward, inside there's a tiny cockpit, and if you crack that open, you have a very, well, small Setsuna F-Sei, but because he's in 1/60th, actually, he's a fairly large figure, almost an inch tall. Now, when I first saw this kit constructed, I wasn't too crazy about the way the chest looked, mostly because it was exposing a lot of inner frame, etc., and I sort of preferred the clean look of the high grade here. You can really see how simple this is with the red part, blue parts, and just put a little bit of gray in between. But once you actually put this together, the detail that goes into the inner frame is going to make you appreciate this a lot more than if you're just looking at it aesthetically. So I am now a big fan of this, despite the fact that I would have preferred something clean and simple before. Now I've been won over. The shoulders come with a complete inner frame, so if you did not want to put on any of this outer armor, you could just have an all-black 00 Gundam, which would look pretty cool. But the first thing that I saw when I saw these was, wow, they sort of scream 00 Quanta with their assembly here. Here's a look at the high-grade shoulders, and you really get an idea of just how simple these are. And of course, because we're going to have the GN drives hanging over these really do have to be sort of out of the way, but I appreciate the fact that they put in that little bit of inner frame exposed just to sort of up the aesthetic value of this. This looks like it's running a little bit long, so stay tuned for the next part where I'll finish up a look at all these parts before we finally put it together. Thanks for watching, everybody.